Good morning, Uganda. Thursday, 16th March 2023. A very cold one at that, but we will survive. My name is Philomena Masco. Thank you once again for joining us today, and also being a throwback Thursday. Well, I am very excited to share my throwback, and I mean, this was just a couple of minutes ago. I did something that triggered me into some of those old days back when we were school. And here's one thing. I thought about the times our teachers really advocated for us covering our books. And in fact, if my memory serves me right, I do remember that very many teachers never tended to the books that were not covered. They never marked these books. Matter of fact, they would throw them around for you to go and cover the books. Until now, I'm still trying to understand what was the science behind covering the books. But I know here that there is somebody who will understand why. Felix, I'm sure he fell victim usually because, yes, don't even twist your face. And I would love to hear what you have to say about that. Good morning.
That's very unfair, but anyway, good morning.
How are you doing?
How are you, Philomena?
I'm all right, I'm okay.
You missed in action.
I did, but I am here today.
Missed the action.
I did miss the action.
That's quite an action that you did miss.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
Literally.
Nevertheless, how are you?
I'm good.
Well, you did talk about covering books. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a very tidy person.
See what I was saying?
So some of those things, even when I tried so hard, there was something that was left unnoticed. Maybe I didn't like the way, I don't know how they call that, like fold well inside. And then probably I would have the wrong newspaper covering with a wrong picture. Like yes. For some reason, I used to have those issues. Or, you know, but then there are also these kids who used to steal covers.
Yes.
They steal your cover, then they
just turn it and use the other side.
And then, like, I fell victim many times. And honestly, it was hard to explain to the teachers. I tell you what, I had the cover. And now, getting also newspapers was, because you had to wait. And my dad used to buy but few times, but my grandfather used to buy every day.
Yes.
But then the guy buys, but you never see the newspapers. Do you know why? Because there was a lady selling cassava in the center around Lubaga called Goreti. So my uncle used to take the newspapers and sell them. Like,
the competition was between you and
so
Goreti.
I had to find a way of making sure you wait for the guy to read, then you also hide. But of course, the excess you also would take to the cassava lady because you would exchange. You give her about 2 or 3,
yes.
Bulletins. I don't know if that's the right word. And she'll give you like about maybe, won't go for like 200. Or,
And then those were like how many sticks?
Ooh, those are like 10, because I used to do 5 for 100. Yeah. But that's about 15 or 16 years ago.
And you'd eat them on your own without sharing. Anyway, Throwback Thursday, Molen. Good morning. What are you throwing back to this morning?
Well, I'm just excited about the cassava thing. Well, good morning, and good morning, viewers. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. There is a lot that you can throw back, but I feel like those are moments that you want to come back. But now, I don't even know that they sell cassava for 100 anymore. There are things that we used to buy in school, pans, the pancakes. Are they called pancakes?
Yes.
Yeah. There used to be very many back in the day, but now just one goes for...
Seriously, what are we doing today? Like,
I'm not a huge fan.
They are called pan. Seriously.
I'm not a huge fan of pancakes. Jesus. Yeah, but then at least... Okay, let's just say I prefer something else for my breakfast now. But I'm just saying, in school, sometimes even your choices are limited. You have maybe pancakes and cassava. And between that, I would choose pancakes. So I'm telling you.
The sizes have also changed,
The sizes have changed?
Yes,
the prices have changed?
No,
and the thickness.
At this point, you
these things today are like crisps.
Yeah.
Like, and you know what our mother used to do for us? She used to pay for us pancakes for a whole month. Like, I remember when I was in nursery, we used to go to Auntie Naiga. Like, there's a lady called Mama Mukuye where I used to pass and pick like for a month. Man, we were like the rich kids of.
That
but I think she'd pay like about 500.
Yes.
for a whole month.
Wow.
And yeah, pad. I think at some point I was called pad. Like,
Hey, that's a nice one.
so
But,
when you
but
talk
have
about
you
pancakes,
realized
yeah.
recently the kids that are in school right now? There is a particular school I know where they even give them these mini, they're called what? Like pizzas for breakfast.
Wow.
I was like, okay, they have an entire bakery at school, so they instead bake for them. They don't allow you to give them grab or pocket money because they do that. But on the menu, they are giving them mini pizzas. And how are we going to expect for breakfast?
Yes.
So times have really changed, and I don't know whether we want to throw back the time when we had a lot of cassava all the time, or enjoy the time now that, there is pizza on the menu for the morning. But also, Philomena, Uganda is celebrating 25 years of PLE. Now I'm a product of PLE. At some point, there's a lot to enjoy within the PLE system. You're not like private schools. Sometimes,
Yes.
you show up at a particular time. There is no teacher to even punish you for that.
Yes.
So, well, while we celebrate, we want to see how much, how is the quality of education now? And, I think that is a lot to look into while we're celebrating. Do we still have the same challenges, even when PLE was just introduced 25 years down the road? What have we achieved? I think that would be an important conversation to put across as we celebrate.
Well, good morning, Robert. How are you doing? What are you throwing back to this morning as well?
Well, good morning to you. We missed you yesterday. Good you're here. Good morning, everybody. Marlene and of course, the old folks, Felix there. And more so, our viewers, thank you so much for waking up with us this lovely morning. Well, throwing back, at least for me, I never used newspapers, to be honest. I preferred calendars.
That was a very good move.
Because they were hard.
Yes.
And now I know Felix is asking, where would you get them from?
But like, we can only have one calendar for a whole year. It was not about us.
Yes, I knew.
The old
So this is
calendars.
what happened. I used to get calendars.
Yes.
My dad was working in some office and we were privileged, so there would be many. But one time they landed me in good trouble. Now, he came home. I think they were to distribute among staff and something like that. So for me, I removed my 3. I didn't know that he had counted them. I said, well, this will help me along. And when I went the following day at school, my books were looking so good. I had a funny friend, Karim, and asked me, no, I also want to have this. So I went home and got 2 calendars. The rich boy came and donated. Now, my father woke up and asked, but I brought this number of calendars. Where could they have gone? Of course, you first keep quiet and says, if the person who used them speaks the truth, I will not beat them. But you see, it was going to be a beating anyway.
Exactly the opposite.
It was, I knew even if you speak or you don't still, they're going to beat you. I kept quiet, and my little one said, and it was thorough beating because of covering my books with the calendars. You couldn't wait for the year because supposing one time juice poured on them and I had an option. But because you used to take packed juice, not these things I see today, but real katunda, passion fruit.
Pour in your bottle and...
pour in your bottle and you take. So I remember that bit of covering. At least I never stole anyone's. Neither did anyone.
Giraffe was that age where they used cement covers. I don't know which which era used cement covers. That was that era for old age guys.
I did get an
Probably
opportunity
used that.
to use cement covers and all that. I used calendars. But also, I just want to seek clarity. Is it 25 years of PLE or UPE?
Yeah, I meant
Universal
to say,
Primary
yeah,
Education.
that is UPE.
Yes.
That is UPE.
Yeah, it's 25 years of universal primary education in Uganda. And one interesting thing is, this is something that was initially for 4 children per family. Later it was extended to all the children. But I think today, one thing we should ask ourselves, has it served the purpose it was intended for? Or we are just having people go through school? Because there's no rebounding in UPE. I don't know if any of you rebounded a class. Felix?
Yeah. Sorry?
Did you rebound?
Did you rebound a class?
Come on, look at me.
But Felix,
Of course, no, take no offense in it.
No, I'll be honest with you. One of the things I delight myself in, and I bless God, is my ability to consume knowledge. And that has been an exhibit for me since childhood, and I bless God for that. I don't take it lightly. Because I started with people who were struggling, and I've worked with people who are struggling, so I know.
Molly, did you rebound? What was your experience like rebounding?
you just said in UPE no one rebounded, and I just told you I'm a product of UPE. So, but I never really rebounded. I was a very bright kid.
But
So
we
I
can
take
ask the
pride
same
in-
question to
I
Shirabu.
take a
Shirabu,
pride
did you
in
rebound
a
in
bright kid in
class?
school. As good.
You'll cough till morning.
Well, I have something in my throat.
Because I have
But the truth
I have
is,
evidence to
the
that.
truth is,
I
yes.
so you know.
Yes.
I rebounded.
Yes.
But I didn't
And not
rebound
once, by the way.
because it was once. It wasn't because I didn't perform very well.
Yes.
But I had to change schools.
Schools.
That's
Yes.
Another
what
school, and
everyone
this
used to
school
Yeah.
say
had
when they rebound.
issues. So they said, well, if you
Actually, that's why
I
they
joined in
changed
second
school.
term, so they said no. If you want us to take you up in this school, then you must repeat a class.
Yes.
And the experience was very, very.
So why were you
Was
changing
it?
schools?
But I don't think it's
I'm
about
under
to rebound,
suspect.
honestly, if you ask me.
That suspended me from one school,
You
and I
know-
had to fit in a school.
It's just
And over funny things.
So don't even try
That's
to.
why I use conversation,
being asked to
don't go
rebound the
there.
class, it should be, it's well intentioned, I want to
Don't
think.
even
It's just
try
that
to
the
make it look
experience.
normal.
The experience.
The one time I came close to it, I almost burnt the school.
Now you see,
down.
I told you.
And I'll tell
with
you
the
what
time
happened.
we shall get the
No,
truth.
I'll tell you what happened. No, I came close. I'll tell you what happened. I had a lady teacher. For some reason, she was a P3 teacher, class teacher. That woman had issues.
It's always P3.
So that's the thing. And I told her, I think I tried to be a hero at some point. They came me and then I ran out of class. What? Oof, oof.
Called you back.
The next time, she wrote, this kid, this bad. But I survived. I give glory to God. I don't know how.
In those
life could
days,
have
the
been.
reasons we were being chased or haunted in school. For example, me, I just went out of the school gate before it was time. You know, because you finish class at 4, but they open the gate at 5. So while some lorry was bringing in firewood, I went through next to the lorry, then out of the gate. I was nabbed, indefinite suspension.
What class was that, Robert?
That was senior one.
Discipline.
So I
Discipline
have to
is
look for
very
another
key.
school and-
Discipline is very, because
Yeah.
Robert, if they're opening the gates at 5, why are you sneaking?
And they're
out?
opening for
In
wood.
fact,
Are
you're
you wood?
escaping.
Did you
They
think
open,
it-
you finish
It's
classes
back
at
to
4.
discipline.
That is mango. Then these are going in soccer. I mean, I wasn't
Okay.
a soccer fan. These are going in Super Union.
Why didn't you stay to read your books if you aren't a soccer fan?
I knew where my hostel
It's
was, and I
good
wanted to
morning,
go back to hostel.
Uganda. We are throwing back very, very
I was thought
interesting
because of
stories.
his
I
height
am
he
now
could get
really
away.
getting a clear picture
Like
of
wood.
the people that I work with every single day. The things they did back in the day. You see them as responsible men and women right now. But if we were to trace back into the good early days, my oh my, you will be shocked. Anyway, we'll be getting through some of our stories, local stories, international stories. Robert, what's happening?
We are beginning with the evil iron sheets. Where the Speaker of Parliament yesterday told the House that she's ready to return the 500 iron sheets she received. She said this is setting a precedent. The Speaker took individual steps towards returning of the dubbed evil iron sheets, which were part of the supplies to the Karamoja sub-region. Speaker Anita Among said she will return the 500 sheets to Karamoja in a move she described as protecting the image of Parliament. The decision by the Speaker Anita Among opens a wide debate on the fate of investigations by respective bodies, including police, Parliament, and the Inspector General of Government.
Now, the European delegation in Uganda, led by its ambassador, that is Jan Sedek, did yesterday paid courtesy call at the NRM Secretariat, and they discussed several concerns of both national and international importance with the party to top administration, led by Secretary General Richard Todwong. The discussion rotated around issues of democracy and human rights. Now, the controversial homosexuality bill, regional security, corruption, and the Russia-Ukraine war, among many others.
And moving on, the former board chairpersons of the Police Exodus Circle failed to give a clear account each time the new board took over the Circle bank accounts were dissolved. The board chairperson, led by former Deputy IGP Hassan Kasinje, also failed to convince the committee on the regulations that approved mandatory saving but restricted access of funds by members.
Now, police has confirmed that 4 students succumbed to injuries arising from the accident which happened last couple of days in Gomba district, where a Sino truck rammed into Kasaka Senior Secondary School. Now, computer laboratory, according to the traffic office, police spokesperson Farida Nampima, so far 18 casualties have been recorded, of which only 11 are under serious medication, as the rest were evacuated by their families.
Well, away from that and looking at some of the international stories, United States Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin has said he spoke to his Russian counterpart following this week's dawning of a U.S. drone over the Black Sea, which Washington has blamed on Moscow. Austin told reporters that he spoke with Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu on Wednesday, but declined to provide additional details on their discussion. The rare high-level talks come a day after U.S. officials said a Russian jet made contact with a U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drone, forcing it to be shot down. Moscow has denied that a collision occurred. The incident would mark the first time that U.S. and Russian military assets have made contact since the war in Ukraine began in February of last year, and it has fueled concerns of a potential escalation between the two countries. But Austin appeared to show restraint during a news conference at the Pentagon, saying the U.S. takes any potential for escalation very seriously, and that is why I believe it's important to keep the lines of communication open. North Korea has fired an intercontinental ballistic missile, that is the ICBM, just hours before the leaders of South Korea and Japan are due to meet for a landmark summit. Both Japanese and South Korean officials confirmed the long-range missile's launch on Thursday morning. It flew about 1,000 kilometers, landing in waters west of Japan. It is the 4th missile launch from Pyongyang this past week, although the other rounds have been short range. The activity comes amid ongoing naval drills between the U.S. and South Korea around the Korean Peninsula, the allies' largest in 5 years. North Korea has repeatedly said it sees such exercises as provocation.
Now, 2 of the 4 journalists who were detained in January after a video appearing to show South Sudan's president wetting his trousers at a public function have been released. The Union of Journalists of South Sudan said in a statement that it welcomed the release of Victor Ladu and Mustafa Osman. In December last year, a video shared on social media appeared to show Mr. Kill urinating on himself as the national anthem played at a function. 6 staff from a state broadcaster were later arrested, but 2 remained in detention. We urged the government to release Garang John and Jacob Benjamin, or if they had a case to answer, they should be produced in a court of law, according to their statement. The arrests had been condemned by the rights group, including the Committee to Protect Journalists. Now, the arrests match a pattern of security personnel resorting to arbitrary detention whenever officials deemed coverage unfavorable, said the CPJ's Sub-Saharan Africa representative Mono in a statement. And in climate news, Malawi hit by tropical cyclone Freddy, the devastation caused by tropical storm that ripped through Malawi, killing 225 people in a national tragedy, the president said. Lazarus Chakwera promised to intensify search and rescue operations as he attended to the funeral of some victims. Tropical storm Freddy led to people being swept away by raging waters or being buried under the landslides. The government has set up 30 emergency camps for at least 20,000 people who have had to leave their homes. Now, the hilly commercial capital of Malawi that has been worst affected with residents dying in landslides and homes cramping in flood waters, even health workers need help, the health minister said in a statement to BBC. He described the situation as very fragile and that more than 5 million people had been affected by the storm.
More stories for you looking at our dailies, the New Vision and Daily Monitor. Among returns OPM iron sheets, why President wants implicated ministers charged. And still in more stories, UPE hit by shortfall of 78,000 teachers. And runaway bride, new lover speaks out. Museveni meets nuclear experts, and in the picture over there you can see His Excellency interacting with some of the delegates who were attending the African Nuclear Business Platform Conference yesterday.
6 to return 500 iron sheets, and landslide victims return to Duda Hills after 13 years. Now Mobiru's 1953 Picho runs on a Toyota Noah engine. Now Ugandans do come out to poke holes in the parish development model, and UPE hits and misses in 25 years. Get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor to be able to get more of these stories.
Well, while at it also, it's very important to look after yourself. Your health comes number one. Robert.
Hallelujah, Jinga tea, hallelujah, tamarind. Drink. What these do is they boost your immune system. So just 1,500, any supermarket, any retail shop, get any of the 3 flavors, and I guarantee you, you will have a healthier life.
We will go for a break, a throwback gem to be very specific. When we get back here, we'll be having a conversation in the newsreel. It's still Good Morning Uganda with you all the way. We'll be back.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Thursday, 16th March 2023. A very cold one at that, but we will survive. My name is Philomena Masco. Thank you once again for joining us today, and also being a throwback Thursday. Well, I am very excited to share my throwback, and I mean, this was just a couple of minutes ago. I did something that triggered me into some of those old days back when we were school. And here's one thing. I thought about the times our teachers really advocated for us covering our books. And in fact, if my memory serves me right, I do remember that very many teachers never tended to the books that were not covered. They never marked these books. Matter of fact, they would throw them around for you to go and cover the books. Until now, I'm still trying to understand what was the science behind covering the books. But I know here that there is somebody who will understand why. Felix, I'm sure he fell victim usually because, yes, don't even twist your face. And I would love to hear what you have to say about that. Good morning.
That's very unfair, but anyway, good morning.
How are you doing?
How are you, Philomena?
I'm all right, I'm okay.
You missed in action.
I did, but I am here today.
Missed the action.
I did miss the action.
That's quite an action that you did miss.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Literally.
Nevertheless, how are you?
I'm good.
Well, you did talk about covering books. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a very tidy person.
See what I was saying?
So some of those things, even when I tried so hard, there was something that was left unnoticed. Maybe I didn't like the way, I don't know how they call that, like fold well inside. And then probably I would have the wrong newspaper covering with a wrong picture. Like
Yes.
For some reason, I used to have those issues. Or, but then there are also these kids who used to steal covers.
Yes.
They steal your cover, then
They just,
turn
turn it and use the other side.
And then, like, I fell victim many, many times. And honestly, it was hard to explain to the teachers that, tell you what, I had the cover. And now, getting also newspapers was, because you had to wait. And my dad used to buy but few times, but my grandfather used to buy every day.
Yes.
But then the guy buys, but you never see the newspapers. Do you know why? Because there was a lady selling cassava in the center around Uganda called Goreti. So my uncle used to take the newspapers and sell them. Like,
The competition was between you and
so
Goreti.
I had to find a way of making sure you'd wait for the guy to read, then you also hide. But of course, the excess you also would take to the cassava lady, because you would exchange. You give her about 2 or 3,
yes.
bulletins. I don't know if that's the right one. And she would give you like about maybe, we'll go for like 200. Or,
And then those were like how many sticks?
Ooh, those were like 10, because I used to do 5 for 100. Yeah. But that's about 15 or 16 years ago.
And you'd eat them on your own without sharing. Anyway, Throwback Thursday, Mullen. Good morning. What are you throwing back to this morning?
Well, I'm just excited about the cassava thing. Well, good morning, and good morning, our viewers. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. There is a lot that you can throw back, but I feel like those are moments that you want to come back. But now, I don't even know that they sell cassava for 100 anymore. There are things that we used to buy in school, pans, the pancakes. Are they called pancakes?
Yes.
Yeah. There used to be very many back in the day, but now just one goes for.
Seriously, what are we doing today? Like, serious?
I'm not a huge fan.
They are called pan. Seriously.
I'm not a huge fan of pancakes. Yeah, but then at least... Okay, let's just say I prefer something else for my breakfast now. But I'm just saying, in school, sometimes even your choices are limited. You have maybe pancakes and cassava, and between that, I would choose pancakes, so I'm telling you.
The sizes have also changed, I
The
must
sizes
say.
have changed?
Yes,
The prices
they're
have changed?
reduced.
No,
And the thickness,
at this point, you
these things today are like crisps.
Yeah.
Like, and you know what our mother used to do for us? She used to pay for us pancakes for a whole month. Like, I remember when I was in nursery, we used to go to Auntie Naiga. Like, there's a lady called Mama Mukuye where I used to pass and pick like for a month. Man, we were like the rich kids of.
That.
But I think she'd pay like about 500.
Yes.
For a whole month.
Wow.
And yeah, pad. I think at that point I was called pad.
From all shops around.
Get the most affordable 4G smartphone in Uganda from Airtel. Now heavily discounted from 250,000 shillings to 150,000 shillings only. Yes, 150,000 shillings only to keep you connected to your loved ones.
Dial *175*94# to activate free 1 GB instantly and 100% double data on all weekly and monthly bundles for 3 months. Get one today while stock lasts from the nearest Airtel shop. With Airtel, the smartphone network.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Three minutes past 7 a.m. You're watching Good Morning Uganda. Welcome to the newsreel. My name is Philomena Masko with Felix Nkunda and it's a throwback Thursday at that. Now, while we were having that session, Molen was sharing some of our experiences as a student who was, what do they call it, a result of UPE, and even you, Felix, here as well. I know that you went through a couple of UPE schools, more or less like all of us, actually.
I went to Shimoni Demonstration Primary School.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand.
By then it was still located just
below there.
Down here next to.
Now things have changed.
I don't even know where it is anymore, by the way. The last time I had it was in Kira, then I don't know, wherever it is.
I understand that. Well, while we're talking about that, UPE, today we are celebrating 25 years of universal primary education here in Uganda. And somebody said, you know, if it wasn't for UPE, almost half the Ugandan population wouldn't have gone to school, considering the times we are in. And I think they could be making sense. They have a reason as to why they're saying what they're saying. When you look at the population right now, the current population of adults we have, firstly these children who are going through different schools and whatnot, everybody will be sharing their experiences, and they somehow will mention, you know, when I was in this UPE school, and it clearly goes to show you how much this statement makes a lot of sense. But today we'll be looking at some of the wins, some of the losses of UPE, and the challenges, also the way forward in these 25 years, even after recently seeing a couple of education experts coming in to say that UPE should be cancelled because it's not yielding any results. Well, all of that we'll be reviewing. But currently, as we speak, there are at least 13,692 government primary and secondary schools implementing the universal primary education programs, and a total of about 12,431 primary schools spread across the country are implementing the UPE program, with at least 36,819 teachers on the government payroll. Well, there is that, and of course, aside from the challenges, maybe we could just start off with some of the wins. Felix, here, we were here the other day when we were talking about the education experts who are saying that UPE hasn't yielded any results. In fact, it's just a wastage of government money. Do you believe that? Because personally, I feel that's a very big lie. UPE, the challenges, yes, they're there, but also the wins are quite amazing, even when things are not good. Yes, we can acknowledge that there is a contribution it has done. I mean, what would you have to say about that?
Well, it feels like when they call someone an OB to give an A.
Yes, it should be like that.
Yeah, well, it could be. But anyway, directly into your question, Philomena, you do notice that at the inception of this universal primary education, that was in 1997, the pre-1997 education era trajectory had not taken cognizance of the inability and the lack of affordability for Ugandans, knowing that at that time, not even more than, on a spectrum of 10, not more than 2 Ugandans were able to facilitate education for their children.
Yeah, that's true.
Out of 10 Ugandans, not even 2 were able to facilitate education, meaningful education. Now, the intention of the UPE was to give relevantly meaningful education, yet affordable, rather also accessible, but also later on that is life impacting. When I was in P3, I told you, by 97 I was in P3. And that's when it started as Radio Shimoni. And when it came, there is so much that came with it. And I'll speak for the inception, because I remember that the inception of universal primary education, with all the intentions that I've given, looking at education being made accessible, available, but also meaningful. This was the true reality of it. Was like a dream, because at that point I remember some of the things that used to disturb Ugandans then. I remember there was something called tax. People used to run away. They had to have those
Yes,
cards.
they were really being
Now,
hunted down.
that was a challenge. Two was this thing called school fees. You see, it is one thing to study. It's another thing to study meaningfully. Most of us studied. Ugandans, people who move, even the ones everywhere in Uganda have studied. But if you're not able to turn what you have studied into a life survival or skill of survival, you may be as good as useless. That's why people have been mocked for speaking good English, yet they use dumb or dense, if I may use that. And we used to make jokes of some point in school that kati oluzungu, if you can't, some of us, they used to say didn't have good English, would get 90s. Now good English speaking people would get 30. So would make
Somebody
that.
asked you oluzungu lukuyamba.
You get the point, because if you can't use it in an exam to pass it. Now, academics and education is as good as useless if it can't be meaningful. And that's why I brought in the word. The inception of UPE was to evaluate or verily much bring to life the three aspects. One, make education affordable. Two, make it available. Three, let this education be meaningful. Did we achieve that? I can say that in a capital bold letters of yes. It would be unfair for me to say, look at me. But look at every other person who are part of the inception of UPE. And that makes the cream generation today. Don't be deceived. Government was quite particular, intentional to elevate the stature of education then. And I can tell you that can be a comparison we get from the schools that were the pilot studies of this project. I've given you one of the schools, the Shimoni demonstration. Nakasero Primary School, Buganda Road Primary School, Bat Valley, Kololo. You know, all these other schools, just to mention but a few. Now, these schools, later on, then at inception, government also agreed to staff these schools. I can tell you as a matter of fact, at Shimoni demonstration, I can give even witness to the same. We were taught by the best teachers in Uganda.
You know, you're not the first person who is actually mentioning
honest.
that. I've also interacted with, like, say, maybe 2 or 3 people, and they will tell you the same exact statement.
When you go to Nakasero, they will tell you they had the best teachers. Buganda Road, Chita Ante here, the best. The cream de la cream was in these schools where UPE was. In fact, we didn't feel like we are lacking in any way in terms of academics, which was the core purpose of us being in the school anyway. We could have had other challenges.
But at least not academic related.
These flashy classes that look beautiful, blackboards that what hours, of course, you had to do charcoal and what every Friday charcoal and cassava,
sweet potato,
yes, yeah, every Friday, but which was okay. Because, you know, every Friday there was a group of people who would do that. You know, but that was not what was for us the issue. The issue was bigger than, it was about the quality. I can tell you, in terms of quality, the inception of UPE, and I consistently talk about the word inception, because we got the best quality. That one I can attest, not until things went bizarre. We used to eat food. We used to have our posho and beans, whether with kauku or what, but it was there. Timely, and you could dabble also. There was an opportunity. So,
there was more than enough.
That was sure. How could you have without? And even you would come back at around 3 when the SST teacher, in fact, that was Sewungu. The Honorable Sewungu Gonzaga used to be our SST teacher in primary here. You'd have friends in the kitchen and you go and get even membe on top of the. So life was, there was enough. And I remember, I think we used to pay about 30, 28, I think from, not certain, but about, because I remember at some point they paid a year for me.
Yes.
Which would total about to 120,000 a full year.
Yes.
Shimoni demonstration. then you would struggle. Then the rest would struggle
The rest,
with transportation. These small, these were quite, but the main purpose. Now we would study. And I wish I had an opportunity even to tell you, like, these guys had a good plan for UPE. The architects of UPE had it right. Away from the politicking, if you ask me, head of some of the few things I'll appreciate about the NRM government, one of them I'll tell you, healthcare in terms of immunization. Okay, it's adopted policies on HIV, but later on also its adopted approach to education, universality,
Yes.
the universality. And that's where the gist of our appreciation is as we celebrate 25 years down the road. The universality that came with this education is the key concept. That the approach was that let every Ugandan, without fear of money, without fear of facilitation, without fear of quality or quantity. Now, then, the ratio of teacher to student, I think, was about 1 to 50. 1 to 50, 1 to. Most recent, it has gone to 1 to 80.
Yes.
Or even more. Now, because of this depleted system, and you know, for example, when you give birth, for some of you who don't have children now, some of us who have, when you have children, you must change. Things change at every stage.
Yes.
You cannot treat the kid like they're 1 day old, even when they're. You must appreciate that when you bring a program like universal primary education, you must also envisage. You must be visionary enough to understand that this is where it will go, and if it is good now, these are the challenges, anticipated challenges. I will deal with them this way.
Yes.
And you must also address questions of population and all this. Now, that is where we started breaking the crust.
And because I was actually about to ask, where did it go wrong?
Everything was rosy until...
I mean, things, the numbers show the enrollment has grown. That's which
so
would be,
high.
Yeah.
Actually, it has doubled.
Data from the Education Ministry indicates that since the program started back in 1997, the enrollment, especially at primary level, has increased from 2.5 million children in 1997 to over 10 million children this calendar year, 2023. Now, of these 8.6 million learners, 80% are currently enrolled under UPE. Because of the high enrollment, the report indicates that a reasonable number of pupils are not given due attention. Now, if we are seeing growth in the enrollment numbers, which is a good thing, it clearly shows that people understand and value, the population values education. But then when it comes to the quality, things are going down south. Where did it go all wrong? Because what you're telling me right now, Felix, the picture is completely different from the current picture we have.
What it is today.
Yes. Where did it all go wrong? Where was that point where the curve just decided to go downside?
In my opinion, I think Ugandans, by far, and what's more, the administrators of education, chose not to understand what UPE's intention was. The availed irrelevant competition in education sector is also a challenge that has continuously exposed the UPE scheme to slander. Now, we are dealing with irrelevant competition that we are not ready also to put our UPE to compete favorably. Second, government in its own wisdom, I think consistently has not by far appreciated. I think they have not had enough of these champion stories by some of us, the pioneers of...
well, now that you're in the national broadcaster,
they should engage more with the people who went through. And if they are to do an evaluation, I can tell you Uganda hosts over thousands of doctors, UPE.
Yes.
Thousands of lawyers. Actually, for lawyers, it's even more, could be even, you know. And very many accountants, engineers, who are products. I think we have failed to have, to give due account of the relevancy of this program. Now, people have not felt the need. In fact, it is cynical that today we're discussing to close off these projects.
Because they
But-
refer to it as just a way government.
Because today they are
funds.
saying people in UPE can't even speak English. They can't read and write. The teachers, the schools. But when you, and I want to use this analogy, when you, for example, marry a beautiful lady, and the beauty keeps on fading, which is expected, by the way. In Uganda, we have a saying that ekitooke kifansalira. But do you know even in the Uganda film?
I do.
Like, you know, like you cannot focus on the beauty of the banana if you don't give it quite some time and cut and, you know, do all these things.
You need to give it the attention it
That's the
deserves.
dilemma with UPE. You cannot have abandoned this project and start having conversations. Aya, mutwale obuji, bring porridge, mulete mwesibire entanda. We can't have this conversation. That's not the gist of education. In as much as feeding is key, by the way, for education. But we have not focused on making this work.
Could we also say that right now, as we speak, the system has shifted away from the original setup, because I believe the original setup was favoring very many people. And in fact, that is why you're able to sit here, Felix, and tell us this and that and that and that and that.
Oh yeah, but Philomena, you must also accept that we are being deceived by what we see before our faces, that when you go to these townships and those who creeping up schools everywhere, that education is okay. This UPE was not meant for you. You people who are saying that it is not doing anything. It wasn't meant for you, actually. You're the wrong people to make comment about it.
Yes.
UPE was meant for a child of someone who hardly even ever thinks that they can afford education for their own child. Every family deserves to have someone educated. And for whatever reasons, if it works for you to have an ego or pride, have it. If it works about changing life, have it that way. If it works for changing the community, have it that way. But the deception that surrounds what we see, when you come to Kampala, you think when you see all these morning shuttles,
Yes.
dropping and picking kids, you think, education is
yes.
No. How many kids, in as much as you look at Wakiso, but you get out of Wakiso, Kampala, you'll see what are kids doing. Children are in mines. I don't know if stone quarries.
Stone quarries, yes.
You find over 10,000 kids. If you go to regions like the Karamoja region, what are the children doing? Children are being fed to come on the streets of Kampala to do what? Now, this UPE was meant for those people. Go to the eastern part of Uganda. Girls are getting pregnant because of not being in school. This was the purpose for UPE. Let's not get it twisted. Okay? Perhaps we are focusing on the minor things. Teacher to student ratio. Why don't we have that discussion? Remuneration of teachers. We are discouraging teachers from that profession. Who is going to teach the children?
In fact, UPE schools have been, just like the New Vision stated, it has been hit by a shortage of 78,000
Do you know
teachers.
why? Remuneration, facilitation, welfare. I think we are shy to accept that education is a game changer. We are shy to accept, and that's why I told you last time, for me, I have a great challenge with this ongoing contestation that has been ushered into our regime by poor political practices or mediocre politicians, that you're struggling with a high competition of political administration and welfare, social, economic welfare. Because today it is okay for us to discuss remuneration or increased remuneration of 500 and plus members of parliament without, by the way, a direct given benefit to social development. I am yet to understand the direct socio-economic development, direct relationship between parliament and but you don't want to discuss remuneration of teachers. You're making people hate the profession, and then you're saying the UPE is not working.
Because if you look at the teachers are running into the private schools.
Bricklaying, no.
The ones who can actually afford to.
Philomena, Every market you go into in Kampala today, everyone now is a teacher. Because those were teachers. You go to borders. Why would someone do
and
have
we saw that a lot,
certificate?
especially even when COVID came in. We saw how teachers just decided
They're
to
riding
lay down their
borders,
tools and get into
they're
other
bricklaying.
businesses.
Patundabikajo on streets. But we have kids in our schools who are not being attended to. Now, the real discussion is not if we should close, because when you have a problem, the solution can't be running away from the problem. Like in Uganda, we say, go onoguma zambiro. You can't finish this war by running. Because tell you what, you're going to get back to the same point where you are. We need education. That's a matter of fact.
That's true.
Now, as we celebrate 25 years of UPE, you cannot simply stand here and say that after 25 years, we have failed. Come on.
25 years down the road and you're throwing in the towel.
The towel. How,
Yes.
like, you know, we had, now, that simply says that I have not used the 25 years. But we had 25 years to build momentum, capacity, and make this project work. This is a workable project. And actually, away from just being workable, the universal primary education was a direct usher, a direct trigger to a constitutional demand from government to make the right of education activated. It's an aid to observing the right to education. How dare you say it has failed? We mistake two things, and most of them I've had people talk about UPE, and the first comparison they give English.
Also, I have never understood why English is used as a benchmark or a parameter
of education.
I don't understand how that works, but
you know, as also a teacher, I feel the biggest disability or the biggest contributor to failure in academics is language. Because you must take into account the need to have relevant communication.
yes,
UPE caters for people from P1, isn't it?
yes.
So they don't know. Most of the UPE students have not gone to nursery. That's something we always forget. On a spectrum of 10 UPE P1, maybe 2 have attended pre-primary. Now, their P1 is like their start of education. What do you expect? They learn to write at P1. They start gambling on language at P1. Now, sadly, we don't want to address that, to adjust the syllabus for this P1 to cater for those who don't have the nursery, top, middle, I don't even know, middle, baby, top, what, those things. Like, how do you cater for this group that doesn't have this appreciation? When you want to celebrate 25 years of UPE today, you can't stand there and tell us it is worth it to be scrapped off. Now, that's a total misuse of project funds, because you're saying 25 years we have not achieved anything. How do you justify that, Philomena?
Well, according to the report, in many UPE schools, the teacher, at least one teacher, is serving at least 100 pupils at a go due to a surge in the enrollment. And yet, when you look at the recommended teacher-pupil ratio, it is 1 teacher per 53 pupils in a class. So we are seeing a higher number of enrollment. Very many children are enrolling in schools. But the teachers that are there to avail the teaching services, the numbers are going down. And it's not something that we want to look at. But also my other worry here is the quality of education, definitely in the schools, being affected by very many other things, one of which is the teachers. It's quite wanting. When you look at the performance, the other day we were seeing results coming in for PLE for, secondary, and we're seeing that the performance of UPE schools vis-a-vis these other schools is still wanting. And I mean, when you look at what we're doing right now, we are making shifts and changes in the education sector. Speaking of having these new changes in the curriculums, we are seeing that we are focusing more on competence-based curriculums. My only worry is that how do we get to implement these in our UPE schools? For private schools, it may be a little bit, it's slightly easier. But for our UPE schools, how do we get to have this high-quality education, especially for the people who are highly benefiting from them?
No, first and foremost, there must be funding. You know, we must agree to prioritize education, and we have consistently hidden our heads in sand about education. It is not until recent, after how many years, that we are willing to adjust our syllabus. But we are also very slow in fast-tracking the same.
Yes.
Now, there is no magic to education, but facilitation.
Now there
You
is
get
no
the point.
shortcuts.
Yes. Philomena, you're going to come to class to teach. There's no way someone is going to say at the end of the month, thank you so much. We were recorded a guanga. That can come secondary, but not primary. Okay? There's no way you're going to say that, okay, we want kids to study, but they don't have where to study. There must be a bit of shelter. You see, education is bigger than just what we learn. Education is a way of relevant exposure.
Yes.
Academic exposure. Now, when you teach a child in a tree, what exposure are they getting in terms of hygiene and all these things?
And also we forget that as a child or as a Ugandan or as an individual, your biggest part of your early years, you're in school.
Only? Like half of your life?
Actually, half of your life, because even after that, there are people who go
you
through
study,
still,
like
yes.
life is more or less, so when you talk about infrastructure, you must have some infrastructure. And all these things are not going to come by holy or divine mercy, and as much as we want the divine mercy upon the schools, but schools are not going to be birthed by women. We must be intentional and fund. UPE must be funded well. So for you to make these judgments, now, and let me tell you, government sometimes spends money on funny things, but yet not the most important things. And I can give you an example of 2 or 3 aspects. And I'm sorry, I'll focus on the August House, even for this example, unfortunately. I remember when I was in P4, I was privileged to meet Honorable Ekanya. Is it Godfrey Ekanya? Was from Tororo somewhere. I think now he's back in Parliament. And we had a discussion. By then, I don't even know how I ended up in Parliament. I don't even remember, but for some reason, I was in Parliament discussing with Honorable Ekanya. I remember him and his name. And we're asking him, so in this Parliament that you sit in, by then, and I told him, do you feel that children are represented? And the man started stammering. And I want to ask the same question. Representation of children in Parliament is absent. Who represents the children in Parliament? Because this would be the person to speak some of these things to make sense to the other members of Parliament. The disabled are being spoken for. The women are all over Parliament. They are speaking for themselves. The men are there. The districts, who is speaking for this constituents of children in Parliament? Now we have the elderly. But who's speaking for the children? Because you can't, in Parliament, cannot understand some of these things unless we bring them closer to Parliament.
Yes.
Okay? Because when you I saw a story run, I think, by New Vision or Daily Monitor, one of the papers last week, about children who are, I think, in Bula, they were going to school against a hill, but they had struggled to put some sort of ladders. And they have to go through down and up on a daily to go to a UPE
school.
There was a story also running in Kavari about kids who use a hand boat or something.
Yes.
Every day to go to school.
They use that canoe and
now,
they
as I've
cross
told you,
basically.
but they have to go, yeah.
Yes.
Now, these poor ones don't have anyone to help them. They have to organize themselves and do it themselves. Some will say, we'll do when we are going, then Philomena, you'll do when we are coming back.
Yes.
Now, the plight of students must have an answer. The questions have been asked by everyone. The teachers are asking questions in terms of their remuneration, welfare. Parents are asking questions. Now, who can give these answers if there's no one who speaks for children in this country? Who? Now, some of these reasons, some of these answers and discussions do not reach the right offices. When you say you want to have elevated education, education doesn't start at university level. It doesn't. You can't say for you your focus is on getting scientists. Who start from where?
There has to be an origin.
If you do
spot.
not
Yes.
work on the foundation, and when you talk about foundation, an accessible, available, yet meaningful foundation is only UPE. We have to pump as much money in UPE. Let me tell you something. And it's funny how these people at places like NSSF have also, in Uganda we say, batuvudemu, like they have let us. Let me tell you other institutions like NSSFs of different countries do. They get money because workers collect money. They say, for us, we are going to assist government in this direction. For the next 5 years, we shall be building UPE schools. And government will probably be paying. That is the relevancy. Because if you're looking at trillions of money, it's not a sharing bonanza. Now, that is where we lack forecast leaders, understanding leaders. How do we use the institutions we have to make better some of these projects? UPE. Away from discussing, here, how? But you have money that is being eaten by one person that can build 5 schools.
Yes.
One person. And what happens to this person? Inquiries, committees, select, and who? All this.
A whole
now,
process.
we are not being intentional about education. And I've given you a spectrum of the same. You go to the northern region, you're dealing with Kejongs who are all over streets begging. When you go to the western, I don't know, southwest, I don't know if we have some. Have you seen street kids in Barara?
I don't think I have.
Kabale.
I really don't think I have.
Anyway, bless them. But you come to Uganda. If you know, we are not being, when you go to the eastern part of Uganda, girls are pregnant at the age of 10, 9, 11. This should be in school. How are we using the institutions? And last time we were discussing about ICT and national growth. Same thing. Institutions have, and this is the dilemma, all government institutions have decided not to be, they don't want to challenge their heads about national growth. When they tell you you're going to be A, you'll just be Musururu, A, forever and ever, amen. Now, that's why I told you that government should bring on board partners to assist. This, I've seen like churches. These Watotos here have done greatly.
They actually do a lot.
They have done a lot in support of UPE. You go to the Catholic churches. In Rubaga here, at least I know, go to Chitebi, go to the Protestant, the Church of Uganda. Tremendous, the Pentecostals. They have tried to partner with governments to assist. These are private institutions totally. But what are the government-related institutions doing? Inquiry after inquiry. For what? Theft and graft. You know? So, for us to discuss removal of UPE after 25 years is clearly us accepting that we have fallen short of the legroom of understanding. We have chosen to reduce the legroom of our understanding to only what we are able to do for ourselves. But I've told you, the intention of UPE was not for you. It wasn't for you people who are well earning. Yes. This was intentional to assist these young girls who get pregnant at the age of 9. This was the reason. This was, let me tell you, you look at the rate of street kids vis-a-vis then, 98, 99, 2000, look at the rate and look at it today.
Actually, even when you say that, Felix, do you realize that the people who go through the UPE systems, the people who are fully engaged in it, the people who are meant to have this UPE education don't even realize the gaps in the system.
They don't.
The people who realize the gaps in the UPE system of education are the people who are not in it.
because
So they are
can't
able to make
appreciate it.
comparisons. They see what's going on here, what's going on there.
Honestly,
so, and we're not
is
saying
unfair.
we are not saying
And
we
it's very
shouldn't-
unfair.
Yes, we shouldn't realize the gaps, but then also we cannot come out and blatantly say
You see,
it's not doing anything.
Let me tell you what else has gaps in this country. Even politicians have gaps, mentally, physically, financially. You know, you see, people want to make some things look bad. Today we are struggling with iron sheets. Robert called them the evil iron sheets.
Iron sheets.
You know?
Yes. That's
Okay, what is that? Is that a gap or a hole? As the UP is struggling with gaps, other institutions are struggling with holes. Holes. So let's see how to fix this gap. And let's not forget to understand, UPE is not meant for you who are able. There are people who can tell you their stories about how this UPE thing has changed their lives. You are able to pay for your kids in. Now, 25 years down the road, what have we learned? What can we fix should be the discussion. But let us be intentional about changing the grid of education in this country. The absence of the same, we are going to be doomed. As I've told you, the numbers of teenage mothers is increasing, and that's a big worry. Number of drugs, Philomena, drugs. These would be people in schools as they are consuming drugs. But why? Access to education. But also for government. Do not forget that we have a commitment to fulfill our constitutional obligation towards making education available, accessible, but also meaningful and relevant with the changing times. Relevant with the changing times. And that's what we should make UPE. People should be running from private schools to government schools. Because that's what it is elsewhere. And that's something doable, as a matter of fact.
Well, there is somebody here saying that we should stop assuming that the Western Uganda is better off than other areas. Just for clarity, we're saying that we're not saying that the western part of Uganda doesn't have UPE schools. Obviously, they are there, and there are very many that are struggling, just in comparison probably to some of the things we see, like street children and all of that. So, but yes, this one is a system that covers the entire country, and I feel like, yes, there needs to be engagement, there needs to be improvement for all the regions of the country, where for as long as we have the presence of a UPE schools, of a UPE school, then definitely the support has to be driven over there. Well, looking into the papers, Daily Nation, pain in pocket as dollar woes hit households, effects on homes and businesses. You can say that the weakening of the shilling against greenback is not affecting big businesses, but it's also raiding consumers' wallets, while scarcity of quality brands is forcing Kenyans to go for cheaper substitutes. How 600 million Kenyan shillings telcos they threaten 2022 elections, and talking business at conference and expo, looking at the small medium enterprises. Why certified IMF to retain fuel subsidy? Government move to cushion consumers amid hard times. Identical Assad, Maxine tells court. This is, of course, in search of justice. The Citizen, Moody's team in Tanzania to evaluate creditworthiness, employability under scrutiny at regional meeting, and also government AFDB signed $161 million pact on key power project. We'll go for a break. Molen will be coming in with more on weather and climate.
Paying your bills the old way.
Let's go. Just need to buy some power.
Paying your bills with the My Airtel app.
Bro, there's a line.
You have the power in your pocket. The power to instantly pay your bills hassle-free. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
Oh, you're back.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're descending into Entebbe Airport. For those proceeding to Kampala City, the biggest event in East Africa is in town.
That's right. The East African Business Expo 2023 is happening from the 23rd to the 26th of March at Kololo Grounds. Join us to network, connect, and grow. Contact us for exhibition or sponsorship opportunities. The 14th East African Procurement Forum and Business Expo 2023 is hosted by PPDA.
Now sit back and relax. It's time to explore great business opportunities.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Gatawo with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. We want to take you into the roads and look at the traffic update for this morning. Now, if you're in areas of Chisasi, Chebando, and also towards Naguru Ntinda, getting into town, we want to see how the roads are. We're looking at, first of all, Ntinda. If you're heading into town, that looks to be quite clear over there as you join into Katalima Road. If you're using that road, that looks to be having clear traffic, so it looks like that is okay to use this morning. But also, if you're coming in from areas of that is Naguru, also using Katalima Road, that looks okay. If you're joining in from Ntinda Road, there is a little bit of traffic, but just for a short distance as you join in from Ntinda Road towards Katalima Road. But then again, that looks to be quite clear for this morning. Now, also for areas, that is if you're coming in from Bukoto, Chebando area, looks like also some of the roads along that area are quite okay in terms of traffic. Just a short distance where you look at the orange lines indicating a bit of traffic, but also not quite much to inconvenience your day. Now for Lugogo, you look at if you're using Lugogo Road, that is towards Kampala Jinja Highway, that is also quite clear for this morning, and that could help you navigate into town. Coming in from areas of Nakawa, that is joining into the Kampala Jinja Highway, that looks to also be quite okay. Not much traffic actually for this morning. But then again, as you join in into Kampala Jinja Highway, there is a traffic right there. That is from areas of Lugogo, Nakawa, towards, as you head over towards the lights, you do have I mean, the roundabout, you do have traffic right there. And of course, if for the areas actually using the old Port Bay Road, that is from Bugolobi, that is quite a clear road indicated by the green lines. And you could actually use that instead of taking the Upper Nakao Road if you're coming in from, for example, areas of Luzira there. And also as you head into, that is Kampala Road, you do have a little bit of traffic building up. But also for the side of, that is if you're using 8th Street, Mukwano Road, Access Road seems to be having quite intense traffic towards the traffic lights. So that is one to also be aware of. Isufule as well, looks to be quite clear, having green lines. That is as you join into the Kampala-Jinja Highway. But then again, as you join into town, Kampala Road seems to also have a few distances with intense traffic, but also clearing up, mostly dominated by the green lines. So that means that it's not that bad. That is over there. Also for areas coming in from Entebbe Road to join into Kampala Road, that looks to be quite okay for this morning. We also want to look at the weather situation over the country. We'll be tapping in from the satellites. We do have a few systems that are starting to develop across the Lake Victoria Basin, and that is where we are already seeing rains, especially for the island areas in Lake Victoria. That is bringing rains already. Also for Midwestern Uganda, that is areas of Hoima, Fort Portal, we are already seeing intense clouds building up over there, and that will be bringing us rains for this morning, where we're seeing the blue colors, orange and red. That is indicating a rainy system building up. Or looking at mostly the eastern side of Lake Victoria across Jinja, we already see those intense clouds also building up. Same goes for the eastern area, Palisa, you also have intense clouds building up, and most of those are actually starting to precipitate even as we speak. Most likely that system will continue throughout the morning. We also are seeing some rainy conditions across areas of eastern central, that is for Nakasongola, looking at areas of Ruero as well, likely to have rains as the morning progresses. But also mostly for Midwestern Uganda, that is Hoima, we could be looking at more rains for you. Fort Portal already having those rains even as we speak. That system is heading mostly westward, so meaning that it might actually clear later in the day. We also have clouds that are starting to develop for Kasese, the Rwenzori area. You can expect to have rains in your morning. Otherwise, the northern part of the country remains mostly with intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. We're looking at clearer skies, indicating that most of it might be dominated by sunny intervals just as we speak for this morning. But then again, we also expect that more systems will be developing over there, bringing in a few rains, at least isolated for different areas. We also want to take a look at the forecast for this morning, and that is coming in from the Uganda National Meteorological Authority. We want to see how the numbers are looking like for this morning. We do know that at least lately we have chilly weather, temperatures are going down. We are at least looking at, compared to what we had last month, is quite pleasant. Now the central part of northern Uganda, we're expecting isolated showers. Those will be across a few places, and quite a warm morning over there at 27 degrees. Also looking at southwestern Uganda, where we have Mbarara, Ibanda, Bushenyi, Rubirizi, we are forecasting also isolated showers. Those will be across several places. We already have clouds building up, and that will be starting off with a chilly 24 degrees. Across the western side of Lake Victoria, that is Masaka, Kalisizo, Zimbabwe and Rakai, we're likely to have rains, and that will also be starting off with a cool 24 degrees. And we look at, that is parts of Mount Elgon Highlands, where we're looking at Mbale, Bududa, Buko and Sironko. We are forecasting isolated showers as well. Those will be starting off with a chilly 25 degrees. Those will come in as the morning progresses and likely to cross over into the afternoon as well. We're looking at the eastern side of Lake Victoria, where we have Tororo, Busia, Iganga and Jinja. We are forecasting rains. Those will also be coming in as the morning progresses. We do have already rainy systems building up for parts of Jinja, and most of that area will also be spreading with rains, starting off with a pleasant 26 degrees. We also have eastern Uganda. We're looking at Soroti, Kataku, Yamuri and Kumi. We are forecasting rains. That will also be looking at quite a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade. Most of that system will clear as we head into the afternoon for mostly sunny intervals. The eastern side of Central, where we have Luwero, Woblenzi, Buluri and Nakaseke, we're forecasting isolated showers, starting off with a cool 25 degrees as well. That system will continue into the afternoon, meaning that we'll have more rains over there even as we head towards evening. The central parts of Lake Victoria, Mukono, Kampala, Entebbe and Wakiso, we're forecasting isolated rains that will also be across several places. Looking at a chilly 23 degrees centigrade, that system is also expected to reappear later in the afternoon. Now, also we want to look at what happens, especially with the weather forecast, when we talk about isolated showers, when we talk about scattered showers, or even at times talking about widespread showers. It can also go the same way for rains. It can be isolated rains, it can be scattered showers, it can be scattered rains. So we want to look at specifically what do we mean by that. Now, this is not in terms of intensity, it is not in terms of duration, but the coverage, the area covered by that most of these systems is what we're looking at. If we are giving a forecast that we do expect showers to be, isolated or scattered, what do we mean specifically? That is something that we might be able to look at also and tell, can you differentiate that in terms of the forecast? That's one thing that also does matter when you're looking at how areas are looking like. Now, with isolated showers, you have a 10 to 20% chances that, an area will be covered with showers or rain. Now, this is also in terms of coverage. If the forecast is saying we're expecting isolated showers, it means that only a few areas within the forecast area will actually be seeing the rain. The image on the screen that is to the left side showing about two spotty sides with green and orange, that is the one indicating how a scattered, an isolated situation looks like. Now, on the other side where you have a lot of that is yellow and green, that is indicating scattered. It means that you're going to have a lot of areas within the forecast region where you will be having rains or showers, not continuous, not a continuous system. It could also leave places that do not have rains in between, but at least most of those places will be covered with rain versus the isolated. Now, with scattered, you're looking at least 30 to 60% of the coverage area that could actually receive those rains or looking at showers as well. Now, also when we talk about widespread rains, you imagine a situation where the ones that are now indicated in the scattered have been joined together. That is what would indicate the widespread. Now, with that, you're looking at 60 to 100% of the area being covered by rains. And at this point, most of that is actually a rainy situation. Just a few days ago, we were explaining the difference between showers and rain. With rains, they will be very, very continuous, with clouds that are continuous together and also widespread for a larger area. Now, that is a situation where you're looking at as forecast that will be saying we're expecting widespread rains. Those are usually associated with thunderstorms. They're usually associated with lightning. You look at most of that. Also, in terms of duration, actually could cover a longer time during the day, and that is also what we could look at in terms of widespread. But also, if you look at the intensity, usually the isolated, where you have a few spots having rains, could actually have a lot of intensity. It could be raining in just one place, but also cause a lot of extremes. It could be related to flooding in that particular area, although there are more chances that the widespread or scattered could actually result into also high intensity. But also not to differentiate that with isolated, scattered and widespread, you might not have extreme weather events. All these systems could actually bring extremes of flooding, of landslides, or even worse than that, you have continuous days of water keeping on the ground. That means you also have extending flash floods across the area. But more to look out for is usually when you have a situation where the forecaster is talking about widespread rains. Most likely during the day you're going to actually be getting through that is a wet situation. But if the forecast is saying isolated showers, so there are more chances that maybe it's just going to be raining in a few areas, and you could also count on something like that. Well, that is it for our weather update for this morning. We'll be looking into Good Morning Uganda agenda that will be coming in right after this. Have a good morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Gatawo with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're descending into Entebbe Airport. For those proceeding to Kampala City, the biggest event in East Africa is in town.
That's right, the East African Business Expo 2023 is happening from the 23rd to the 26th of March at Kololo Grounds. Join us to network, connect, and grow. Contact us for exhibition or sponsorship opportunities. The 14th East African Procurement Forum and Business Expo 2023 is hosted by PPBA.
Now sit back and relax. It's time to explore great business opportunities.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
The most affordable 4G smartphone in Uganda from Airtel. Now heavily discounted from 250,000 shillings to 150,000 shillings only. Yes, 150,000 shillings only to keep you connected to your loved ones.
Dial star 175 star 94 hash to activate free 1 GB instantly and 100% double data on all weekly and monthly bundles for 3 months. Get one today while stock lasts from the nearest Airtel shop. With Airtel, the smartphone network.
This is Chilling. Don't miss a brand new season of Chilling on UBC TV.
This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. This is Good Morning Uganda Agenda and I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyutono with two distinguished gentlemen with whom we are going to be discussing issues regarding the workers'